How's it going, everybody? This is Carpo on the 7th of March 2014. 15? Knew I'd get something wrong there. Hey, that's what happens. Yeah, I was just in the house and I took a toke off my pipe because I smoke cannabis. And when I took that toke, I caught a little buzz and I thought about it for a minute, and I started thinking about when I was forced to go to drug treatment, because I'm well experienced with the whole drug treatment scene. I was forced to go to AA meetings. I was forced to go to a 5-month, intensive outpatient program, as well as a different class, and these were all results of being on probation for getting busted for having pot when I was younger. And during that time, a lot of bullshit was put into my mind. Stuff that I refused. I should say a lot of bullshit was put in my face. Stuff that I refused to buy into. For example, the 5-month drug treatment program I went to, it was like 3 times a week I had to drive, like 45 minutes out into Hillsborough to go. And the people who ran the drug treatment center, it was held at the restitution center, so it was kind of like the jail. But these people that were working for the state, it was a husband and wife team that were doing the class, and there were about 30 people in the class, and I was the only person in there for cannabis, and everybody else was on coke or meth or heroin, usually one of those three, and a couple of alcoholics. And it didn't mean that I felt superior or that my drug, but I knew that my drug was less harmful, and it was obvious. The system knows that cannabis is not something worthy of putting people in drug treatment for. There are extreme cases where people become very mentally addicted to it, but it's not a physical addiction. And during the time when I was on probation, I had to quit. So one day I decided this was my last puff, and I took my last toke and quit for 2 years, and didn't suffer any major setbacks in my life. But what I realized during that time is whether or not I'm smoking pot or not smoking pot is irrelevant to the motivation I have or the things I actually get accomplished in life. Whereas people tend to associate pot smoking with being, anti-motivational. Yeah, getting over a cold, excuse me. But the thing is, anti-motivational, pro-motivational, it's all a personal choice. The individual and how motivated they are to do things. And a person may be attracted to cannabis because they already are a certain way, and maybe it helps them be that way. It doesn't matter. The whole point that I'm trying to make here is that each person consumes different substances for their own reasons, and the state has no place, or should have no place, in telling people what they can consume. Now, the inspiration for this video was a term that I heard many times in AA, which is living life on life's terms. And to the average person in AA, there is no acceptable drug, there's no acceptable amount of any drug. It's all or nothing. And these are people with a particular disposition to be extremely addicted to things. For example, I've met people who drank alcohol for a year, but they were in Alcoholics Anonymous for 30 years. It's a group attachment, it's an obsession, and each person finds, I actually have more respect for it than when I first, got into it, because I could never get past the first step of admitting that I'm powerless, and that only a power higher than myself can restore order to me, because I knew that it's an independent thing. Even if you're using that higher energy, you have to know you can do it. So anyway, the living life on life's terms thing says that when you consume a substance, you are escaping reality, regardless of what it is or which drug it is. And I find this is very black and white thinking, and it doesn't address all the different types of people and reasons why people consume things. But when I took a toke and I thought about that term, I thought back to when I was guilty about smoking pot, because there were times in my life where I would be like, I should quit smoking. I want to be straight, or will I ever be straight in my life? I wonder if I'll ever just, be totally, substance free and eat all good food and everything all the time. And I realized that's a pipe dream, no pun intended, but for some people that works. But for a person like me, who I'm not going to get into the details of my personality type, but I do tend to have an addictive personality. I mean, it's something that every one of my family members has had, whether it's genetic or not, but environmental at least. And I don't have that guilt anymore because I realized that that was put into my mind by, because I used to think, am I guilty about smoking pot because I know in my heart it's, harming me in some way. But I always knew that it was, it had major health benefits. It's not even worth arguing for cannabis. But at the same time, you can't use that as an excuse to say, well, I only smoke cannabis just to be healthy, because a lot of people do that, and that's bullshit too. We like to get a buzz, and that's a fact for most people who smoke pot. And is that so wrong? Is what I'm trying to say, or ask, I guess. Is that so wrong to want to catch that buzz? Because as I've grown older, I realized that cannabis addiction is no different than shopping or the endorphin rush you get when you get something exciting or do something exciting, or the adrenaline rush when you get into a fight or become addicted to verbally abusing people, or all the different things that our body produce, these various compounds, chemicals that make us feel a certain way. Serotonin levels, dopamine levels are raised and lowered. And many of these substances either mimic serotonin or dopamine, or they are serotoninogenic, which basically they promote your body to produce more of its own endogenous serotonin, or endogenous morphine, which is endorphins. And there's a lot of scientific bullshit that goes along with it, but the point being, is it so wrong to want to get high? And I think it's something in human nature, because when you hear about talking about living life on life's terms, what's really made me think about this is, what are life's terms? I mean, cannabis is provided. Is it one of those like, haha, here it is, but you're just enticed and you're not supposed to smoke it? Come on, give me a break. Life's terms say cannabis exists. Now, the living life on life's terms part is when you abuse these chemicals to the point where your life is severely impacted. For example, me being a cannabis smoker, I can raise my children, I can live my life and be a morally successful human without harming anyone else. But for some, it's impossible for them. It's all or nothing, and they become very opposed to anybody else who may be able to control themselves, if you know what I mean. In other words, not saying, well, good for you, I'm glad that you can control yourself. It's like, you need to quit doing this, you need to quit doing that, and each person's pointing the finger at somebody else, Because I only address the issue because I've had several people in life, try to look down on me because I smoke pot, or say that it's somehow harming me or my spirituality or my health. And I say, we all pick our battles, and we all pick our substances and our addictions. In fact, many of the people who have been harsh, I've found that they're addicted to putting others down. They get a rush out of that. And that rush of intense butterflies in your stomach when you're harshing on someone, that'll kill you. That's basically stress, fight or flight. You're putting yourself into a panic state almost. In other words, much more harmful than consuming cannabis, let's say. But it's not about comparisons. It's not about which is more or less harmful. It's about individual choice that a person makes to do what they want to do with their life and consume the things they want to consume without feeling like their fellow man is looking down on them. But the point is that we need to just not care. I've always been proud to be the guy at work who, 2 years after I start, let's say, or a year after I start, and the boss finds out I smoke pot, he's like, I just can't believe you smoke pot. You're such a hard worker. I've heard that before. It's like, cannabis use has nothing to do with how hard you work. Nothing to do with how hard you work at all. At least when you're working. So, I bid you all farewell, and hope everybody has a great day. I guess I'm going to go do something productive now. Let's see. Yeah, it's been long enough. I've always been an advocate for cannabis, and I stand up for it because I've always known that some people benefit and some don't. But only recently have I been able to find the actual, now we can say, aha, here are the medical benefits. But not only that, aha, here's what the people are saying in my state. We legalized pot. And there were people who told me that would never happen. And I say, in your face, mofo. It's not about proving anything. It's about saying the people have spoken. And we don't give a shit what the anti-pot people think anymore. It doesn't matter. There's all these anti-pot crusaders trying to illegalize it. It's never going to happen. As well as, the people will go on Craigslist and flag all the ads for medical cannabis, because they think there's some kind of, justice-seeking individual, not realizing that their fellow man, their statesmen, the people in their communities are the ones that legalize this stuff. So, we always want to take our personal opinions about drugs and about things and impose it on others. But, I'll tell people the same thing as I tell the state. You stick it up your ass. I'll do what I want to do. I always have. I don't give a goddamn what people tell me is good or bad for me. I find that stuff out for myself. And I may not always make the best decisions, but I'll be damned if I'm going to allow anyone to tell me what I can and can't put in my body, especially if it's a God-given natural herb that has been here for thousands, millions of years. The evolution of cannabis along with man. Psilocybin mushrooms, I haven't even touched on psychedelics, but I'll get into that some other time. Psychedelics are a whole other realm, and I feel the exact same way about them. Psilocybin should be readily available for any adult who wants to consume it at any pharmacy or any drugstore, so to speak. Because it's always about personal control. You know that if a person has a problem, they're going to find the drug they want. It doesn't matter if it's legal or illegal. Psychedelics are used by people I can't even get into the psychedelic aspect of it because this video will get way too long. But anyway, I made my point and probably rambled on too long because I took a toke before I made it. But that's my choice, right? Namaste.